Welcome back everyone, got this Trek Domane in. It's in for an end of season sort of inspection strip down, which normally is pretty straightforward, but as you can see from these pictures here, I think there could be something slightly interesting going on with this one, so let's get it stripped down and see what's going on with these crusty bits. Ugh. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure what is going on here. It's some sort of weird corrosion. I don't know if it's caused by salt from the rider or maybe sealant from the tyre, I don't know, but it's pretty grim. It's all over this chainring, as you can see, all the way around here as well. You can also see it even between the actual chainring and crank as well though, so I don't want to get too close to this, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'm also going to pull these cranks out and have a look what's going on with these and strip pull this down and clean it. Same on this pedal as well, it's, yeah, something going on there as well. It's having a new chain, that's for sure. Look at the state of this. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's literally everywhere. I'm just looking at the caliper now. It's the same on the hub where the spokes meet, same stuff. Same on the caliper as well, even here, it's literally everywhere. Cassette obviously is going to be pulled and cleaned as well. I'm really not sure what's going on with this, guys. And around the stem as well, you can see it coming out of these washers. All these bolts are corroded. So I don't live by the sea. I'm 100 miles from the nearest ocean where this customer owns this bike. So it's not seaside or sea air that's done this. I know he's done a couple of rides to the sea as charity events, but that's literally for a couple of hours or so. It doesn't live there. Again, the bolts on here as well. It is running tubeless. Customer's not topped it up. I did ask him, and they are pretty much flat at the moment. So that'll be looked at as well. Right, let's get stuck in. Keeping my gloves on for this one, that's for sure. Even the derailleur has been hit as well. This is weird. Right, let's get this wheel out. There's some grease on this axle, so that's a bonus. Nice, that's what you want to see. It's not as prevalent at the front end of the bike, but there is still a bit. It's making me wonder if it is sealant. I've never seen it do that before. Beautiful. Right, let's get this chain off, it's disgusting. Oh my god. Right, let's get these off. T47 bottom bracket in this. Oh dear. Thing's flaking off it already. Oh. I think I could almost put this sticker on this bike. Oh my god. It's still falling out. Oh my god. I've never seen one this bad before. Oh my god, I can see the other side of the chainring now. It's not getting any better, guys. Wow. That's grease, don't worry. At least I hope it is. Technically, this bike is working. The brakes are good, the gears are good. But I can't leave it like this for the winter. Wow. Oh my god. When's it going to stop? Like I say, look, that's come out beautifully. But yeah, I'm going to strip all this down, get it all cleaned up, and I'm hoping this just comes straight off. It's a nylon brush, see if that... Yeah, it looks like it will clean off. I don't think there's any actual corrosion underneath it, so we might be in with a chance of making it look decent again. You say bearings feel great. This is an orange seal, it's not actually rust. That's pretty grim, isn't it? Jesus. Drive side looks a bit healthier, but yeah. Well, I'm going to take this derailleur off. Only on DI2, so take this boot off here, and this cable will just clip out then. What's that? Unfortunately, it's been greased on assembly, and it's done a good job, so I'll say that there's no grease in there. Front one off as well, get that cable, just unplug it, and just take this off. I'm going to take these bottle cages off. It's coming down almost to a bare frame, I think, realistically, because I can't trust any of these bolts corrosion-wise. Jesus, that's the difference between 105 and Ultegra. You won't normally get this on Ultegra. They use higher quality alloys, etc. So that's what you pay for, really. A couple of grams weight saving, but you do get much improved corrosion resistance on Dura Ace and Ultegra. You won't get this problem. I don't think that's coming off. I'll just unclip this one. Got a little pouch storage thing in there. That must rattle a lot. There is a bag there, but he's not used it. So if you use that bag, put that in there, you won't have that problem. Di2 battery is down here. Get this one off as well. So they already feel pretty tight. See it on there as well. Down here as well, I think we'll take this off. Bit of a crazy one. It's a Trek Domane, not a mad one, but it is a bit of a mad one. Well, come out, you. I don't want to come out. That does. Oh, no, don't do that. This was going to be a quick 10-minute video, but I think looking at the state of this, it's going to be a longer one. Just gently tapping that, I'm not hitting it. Just to hopefully free off this bolt that's stuck. I'm just rounding that out. Moved. Well, I'm convinced that was going to round out there. It came out. I don't really want to pull this bottom bracket, but I might have to. T47s are a bit of a pain because there's such little engagement, they're just crazy. Right, I'm going to get this caliper, at least get these pads out and undo these bolts to clean it up. Jesus. Wish me luck. Oh, it's okay. Wow. What is going on? Yeah. Interesting. Right, obviously we're going to have to realign this caliper once this is off, but like I say, we can't leave this here. I'll pull this clip off first. I'm going to have to ask the customer if he's dropped it in the sea when he was there. This is just ridiculous. I'm dreading the headset, I'll be honest. I think that is going to be just a mess. Right. It's potentially not as bad as it looked. I think this is either going to be not as bad as I think, or just disgusting. Another one that puts a Newton meter, 5 Newton meters max. Jesus, if you tighten this up to 5 Newton meters, you're doing things seriously wrong. Oh my god. Right, that's not too bad. I was expecting to see a white mushroom of mould or something coming out of there, but that looks okay. Let's drop these out. If you're enjoying this, comment crusty below. They're loose. Don't need to take them all the way out, just loosen them off and then just pull this up. Obviously, because we've got internal hoses, we're going to struggle to pull this all the way out. There's a cover under here we can undo to give us a bit more slack, but these spaces should just clip off and then you'll have more than enough slack to see what's going on in here. Let's just see if we can get one of those off. I'll probably have to pull this cover off first, actually. Oh. There you go. So you just clip off. I don't think it's as bad as I first feared. I'm going to pull this cover off because I can't get in there properly. Just this little bolt here. Oh, that should be a bit easier now. There you go. So that comes straight off there. Now that's loose as well. That should be flush with the top of the steerer. Right. So now we can get into here a bit better, see what's going on in here. Oh, Jesus. That's not what you want to see. Definitely not what you want to see. That's rust in here. I'm just going to reset this because I want to tap it to free this up because that's a bit sticky down there as well. In fact, let's have this out as well. It's actually okay. I'm just going to get some of this. This is called Carbo Move, so it's a penetrating oil specifically designed for carbon fibre. It's super expensive, but it smells really nice and it works really well. Right. Nothing wrong with these bearings, but I can't leave them like this because another year's time you're never getting them out. They need to come out now, get cleaned up, get some grease on them. Right, should just hopefully tap this through there. Here's plastic wedge out now. We're not going to pull the fork because we'll obviously disconnect the entire, well, not yet we're not, but to get this out completely, obviously you don't need to pull, you need to disconnect both the brake hoses. We might end up doing that yet because this is just a mess. Bottom bearing is out, so that's good news. That could potentially have been the worst one, but that's out. So all we're doing with this is clean it up, get some fresh grease on there. So the actual bearing itself is nice and smooth. Hoping this top one comes out as well. It's not quite so lucky with the top one, I don't think. We're not having a good day here, guys. This is not coming out. That's what I thought might have happened. It's not going to come out very easily by the looks of it. Right, so the only way to get access to this now is to disconnect both the brake hoses, which means you've got to unwrap this reasonably good condition handlebar tape. But to be honest, with all the corrosion on the bike, I'm half suspecting that underneath here is going to be not much better. So I think that's going to have to come off. I'm going to have to disconnect the hoses. They're not through the bar, they are just through there. Re-terminate those, and then we can attack this bearing on the headset, because that's got to come out. We can't leave it like that. I'm going to have a cup of tea, and then I'm going to fight this. So I did speak to the customer and asked him if he dropped it in the ocean, and he said no. So it potentially is just a sweat issue, but we are going to take this bar tape off. We're going to obviously get these hoses disconnected, the levers, and then we can pull this through and try and get this bearing out of the frame. So let's do that next. I'm just going to pull these front pads and put 2 bleed blocks in first before we get a bit trigger happy with the levers. This front's nowhere near as bad as the back, so you're nowhere near as bad. I mean, that screw looks normal. Right, let's drop these in. I mean, you can attempt to save bar tape if you want, but it's pretty much impossible, unfortunately. I've got some padding underneath here. It actually looks in pretty good condition under here. Around here would be white and crusty normally. Turbo trainers are particularly bad for that as well. Corrosion around this bit, to the extent where you can actually see pictures of snapped handlebars. It's been that bad. We had to take it off to get access to this hose to disconnect that, so we can pull it through the headset bearing, which is pretty normal these days. I know you guys love it. Right, let's get this one off as well. Not sure why this half of the bar's got 6 miles of tape on it and this one's got 2 pieces. Must have run out, I guess. Right, let's get these off. This is definitely one of the easier ones though, because it's not through a bar, it's not really through the stem, it's literally just through the bearing, so it's just a case of re-terminating these. And there's loads of slack here, so it'll be chopping 10mm off here, put a new barb and olive in it. You might, normally you don't even need to bleed it if you're careful. Don't squeeze the lever, obviously. But we'll see how we get on. Like that. This is the other part tool, flare not wrench, by the way, if you're wondering. The blue one's a bit too fat to get in here. Take that out. So you do need to cut these off anyway, because these nuts won't go through this hole in this spacer, so you're committed anyway. Don't lose the nut. Right, now it'll come off. Bar, and then the fork will just drop out like that. Job done. Right, so the reason we took that out is basically so I can get better access to try and pull this out. It might come out dead easy, I'm not being funny, but without getting that, you just can't get your fingers in there. And for the 10 minutes it takes to disconnect all this, just get it off. Just feel pretty tight there. Yeah, it's pretty tight. Right, I'm going to get some more, clean that up and get some carbo move in there. Nylon brush, don't worry. Do your magic, carbo. You need to come out. Okay, so my battery died and I've lost 10 minutes of footage, but all you missed was me trying to get this bearing out. So I have tapped it from underneath and I think it's sort of moved, got a 1/4 millimetre if that. So it looks like it is moving. I put some more carbo move down there. So it's just a case of trying to work it in and out. I'm going to get it out a little bit, then back in. Eventually it will free itself up and I'll get the carbo move below it. Just trying to get a punch underneath the edge of it. The problem is you can only get to half the bearing. You can only get to the inner race. Normally happens is the bearing just splits. And then you've got to get the other half out, which is just a nightmare. That looks like it's moving to me. The problem is you can see this inner race now is starting to split. So I'm just tapping it back down. And keep working this in. Probably am going to end up changing it, but I do want to get it out in one piece, because if we end up with half a race stuck in there, it's just, oh my god, it's horrible. If you saw my video on the cube bike, that's basically what I was fighting on there. Just a disaster. It's just coming out, slowly, surely. Good. Definitely coming now. Trust me guys, this is one job you do not want to be doing on your bike, on your carbon bike, can you? So if you do anything at all, get some grease on these bearings on the outside. Blows good, pretty crusty. So obviously we're going to clean all this up. I'll see if I've got a new bearing, because we've been tapping away, we have split the bearing there, so it's obviously going to be changed anyway. It will go back together, but not like that. It does feel reasonable, but we're going to put a new one in there and give this all a good clean. Well, it could have been a disaster, but it wasn't too bad, that one. I've definitely had worse. But you could see there's no way I was getting that out without actually taking these bars and hoses off. It would just be pretty much impossible. Right, good. I'll clean up the bottom half. See if I've got a bearing in stock for that. I might do, hopefully. If not, I'll have to park this for a bit and revisit. Right, I'm just going to pull the Di2 battery to make sure there's no corrosion on those connections. A little bracket in here that holds it, basically. And it just pulls out there then. So yeah, that looks fine. Fun and games getting this back in there. There is corrosion on even on these brass mounts though. Jesus. I'm just going to put a drop of grease in these before I put it back together. This brake hose just clips back into that bracket. Can't really show you, sorry. I'll just give the rest of the frame a quick clean now while it's pretty much bare. Turning the sealant down the back. Right. So on this caliper there's actually corrosion underneath the paint on the caliper. That's Shimano's fault, that's not Trek's fault or the owner's fault maybe. People will argue otherwise. Anyway, I'm just going to try and clean this bolt up a little bit. This one's not too bad. I'll just give this a quick clean on the wire wheel. A bit of Loctite on these bolts. This is the new Loctite Pritt stick thing. Fantastic. Just wind that up when you run out. Same as the glue. Well, it's not the same as the glue, but same idea. Your dispenser. It's definitely not the same as the glue. And then this will just screw through here. Obviously we can't align this yet until the wheel goes back in. We've got to bleed the brakes and all sorts yet, so we're a long way off that. There's a little clip goes on here. Like that. You can go back in there with a tool. No inner tube in there, so be interesting. And again, just a drop of grease in these bolts that were proven to be a problem. I put a community post up about this video a few hours ago and oh my god, the comments. This will be months before you see this video I think, but we'll see how we get on. I'm just putting in a new bolt in this one here where it is starting to be an issue. Just clip back in here, quite like these. Job done. Again, just throw this bottle cage back on, get it out of the way. It might have been better to put the front derailleur on first, but I'm sure I'll cope. So it's starting to look a bit nicer now. This bottom bracket actually looks really good now. The white bit you see is where they've faced off the frame at the factory, so that's okay. But the bearings feel beautiful. They've cleaned up nicely. There's a seal that came off the back. So Praxis T47 bottom bracket. So I'm just going to glue this basically back on with grease. Just gives it some extra water resistance. Same on that one, just a bit of grease and it'll basically glue itself on like that. As per usual, I don't have the right headset bearings in stock. I've got so many, 20, 30 different ones, and every single time you come to a bike it's the wrong ones. So they're on order. I've ordered 2 spares as well, so the next time you don't have that situation, but it's nigh on impossible to keep them all, I'll tell you. Plenty more we can do while we're waiting for those. Clean up this fork ready for your headset. There's all the spaces. Just put them there so you can remember where they all go, basically, when you're waiting for bits. Although it's difficult. Struggle to get that wrong. It's actually in really good condition, no issues there at all, no wear, no nothing. Good. The front brake, there's no real corrosion on that one either, so it seems to be the back end that's got the worst end of the deal. Right, so there's not too much on here. Chain, obviously, I'm not even going to attempt to clean that. It's just disgusting and rusty, and it was at its limit anyway, so that's getting changed, obviously. Rear derailleur with Di2, you're a little bit limited. Well, you're very limited as to what you can take apart compared to a normal derailleur. You can obviously take the jockey wheels out if you want to, but that's about your lot. So we will take those out and clean it. Yeah, but the linkage itself, not much you can do on this one here. There's a lot of corrosion on this, so I'll give it a go with a wire brush and some cleaning stuff, but it's not going to get a lot better than that, guys, unfortunately. You can't obviously ultrasonic these, so crank wise, I'm going to get these pedals out, see what they look like inside. Clean this grease off. Clean these chain rings up, split this chain set down and give everything a good clean as well. Right, get your pedals off. It's a lot easier to take pedals off before you take the cranks off the bike, so don't do what I do. Let's see if we can get this off there. Make sure you got the Allen key going in the right direction. Just stand on it like that. Yeah, try and take them off before you take the cranks off. I don't know. It's a habit I've got into. Fortunately, there's loads of grease on these threads, so we're okay there. Not too bad. Clean these up a bit. The bearings feel good. Super easy to service if you need to. Just need one of these tools here, basically. Take that spindle out, pump some grease down the bottom, put the spindle back in and it pushes the grease back through there. Super easy, but these feel lovely. T30 on these chain rings. Take note before you take it to pieces. There's a little tab down here, shows you which way it goes. And take note which way these ridges go. These are facing me. It's quite easy to get mixed up when you put it back together. But sometimes there's a recess for the chain ring bolts, sometimes there's not. So it can be confusing how to put them back together. So just remember. Or take a picture. Not very tight. Jesus, it's like it's been to Colombia or something. This bike's never been on a turbo train as far as I'm aware. This is all purely from riding. Alright, so I'll clean all this up as well. One thing I've been experimenting with is trying to polish cranks up. This is a Holotech crank. This is just a trial one, it's not very good down here, but it can be done a lot better. So something I might start looking into doing. Could be interesting. I'll just take these jockey wheels off. Like I say, you're a bit limited as to what else you can do on these, unfortunately. Put that back in there so you know which one goes where, because they can be different. Again, I'll clean all this up as well, put it back together. This front mech, there's not much I can do. I'm going to spray some lube on it, like that. Basically agitate that in with a nylon brush and see if it will just get rid of some of the obvious corrosion. I mean, like I say, it's still technically working. So really the big difference between Ultegra and 105 is corrosion resistance, what I see. I do see quite a bit of corrosion on 105. Ultegra very much less. Not too bad actually, usable. There's some deeper stuff inside some of these linkages down there I can't get to, but it looks a lot better than it did, that's for sure. Just keep it lubricated and that should survive. But yeah, Ultegra guys and girls. Keep saying guys, sorry, I know there's some ladies. I'll just get these cleaned up now and then put these back together and then probably get these back on the bike out of the way as well. And then look at the wheels. Right, so fortunately it looks like it's all survived without any serious corrosion sort of issues, so put it all back together now. Chain set and rear derailleur, the rest of it's ready to go back on the bike really, so front mech's obviously ready. Pedals were cleaned up lovely as well. Just drop of grease on here. Just helps prevent any creaking issues that you got in the chain set. Definitely not essential, but I found it can help. Gonna add some grease to these chain ring bolts as well. It's a big debate whether you should Loctite them or grease them. Personally, I'll just grease them and tighten them up. Never had one fall out yet. Not that I'm aware of anyway. Get this back on. Pretty obvious which way this one goes because you've got your pin here that goes behind the crank arm. Like that. And this one that we remembered earlier, so there's the tab and there's the bulgy bits if you like, so it goes just there. Like so, nice and tight on these, probably around about 12-15 Newton meters. About there. There's Facum in case you're wondering. Big fan. Once this is back on the bike I'll give it a bit of a polish as well because they actually come up pretty nicely. No more crustiness on that, it's come up nice. Obviously some wear marks from the use it's been having, but nothing we can do about that. Unless we polish them silver. Right, that's fine, good. See, it's a Shimano grease, but it's about empty now. So just a little bit of grease on this bush here. Just to cover in. And that drops into the jockey wheel. Make sure you get them right as well, because sometimes these can be different sizes. One on this one. So you find the G pulley has a metal bush in the middle with another metal bush Whereas a tension pulley is a bit more of a basic one on this one. Tension pulley is basically a metal one pressed into the plastic one, that's it. Nothing more than that. Right, a little bit of Loctite. So we know which bolt goes where because we left that one in there. Like I say, they can be different lengths, so just be careful with that. Drop more Loctite on there. Always make sure you Loctite these because they're nothing worse than these falling out halfway through a ride. And it happens a lot. Some of these are directional, mostly the tension pulley. Guide pulleys don't tend to be. Well, this one is, there's an arrow there. Alright, so you've got to follow the arrow chain direction, so the chain will be going this way through the derailleur, so it goes that way. How much difference that makes, I think absolutely zero. Anyone could put some science behind what difference that makes on such a basic shape pulley. Please let me know. Because I don't think there's any difference at all. They're not even offset or anything, they're literally symmetrical, so really, I mean there's these little grooves here. Don't tell me they're for aero, I'm not going to believe you on that one. Again, direction there. That way. Fairly tight on these as well. Like I say, you definitely don't want these falling out. Make sure they spin. If they don't spin, you probably put the bolt or the bush in the wrong way, and they're fine. Cleaned up fairly well as well. There was only a little bit of corrosion down here, but that's gone. There is corrosion behind the paint again, because it's 105. There's some there, some here, some here. Nothing you can do about that. There is grease on here now. Shimano Premium, no less. Make sure that stops on its B-stop there. So when you tighten it up, pull a bit of pressure down, otherwise it can kind of walk it back up there like that. Right, that's on there. And this just plugs back in. Pretty much plugged itself back in there. There's a special Di2 tool. You can use it that way, or you can use it this way. Just plugs in, and it's alive. And then make sure this seal goes back on there. So that's connected to the shifter there with the blue. Even though the shifter's not on the bike, it's Bluetooth. Here's your shifter here. Nowhere near the bike. So we can open that up now to give it a bit more of a clean inside there. There's a little bracket here that holds this cable in as well. And pushes back in, but they're a bit rubbish. You end up normally cable tying it to here, or a bit of heat shrink. Alright, that looks pretty much as good as new. Good. It cranks back in there, and then I can set the height of this front derailleur. Always lubricate your shaft. Axle, that's the right word, isn't it? Axle. And then that goes obviously through here. Like so. Right, so there's that seal, just push that on. Left hand crank, obviously there's grease already on here. There's so much grease in here, I think we could do a bit of weight saving here. It's only a plastic thing. And then we're just screwing this in to set the preload on this crank. It's just a plastic cap, and you get carried away with it. SRAM have the little ring where you turn it and lock up the Allen key. This is Shimano's version of that, which personally I prefer. It might help me see how tight that doesn't need to be really. All we're doing is taking lateral play out of the bottom bracket, and there is none there, so that's good. Clip this little safety clip down here, make sure that clips in. Like that. More grease. We'll clean it up, don't worry. And then tighten these bolts evenly. What you definitely don't want to do is just tighten one all the way, because you'll just completely destroy it. A little bit at a time. Like this. 12 to 14 Newton meters, if you can get anywhere near it. Like that. Again, just keep going evenly. Like that. Like that. It's looking a bit better than it did when it came in, that's for sure. Right. The front derailleur is going on, bit of grease on this mounting bolt. Goes through. And it goes into there. Then we've got to set the height of this to around about 1-2 millimeters. That's not bad there. And then we make sure it's parallel as well. There's a separate screw on here that goes through here that you would screw in to make it parallel against the frame, but Trek have not provided anything for it to push against, so we're not using it on this one because it will just go straight through the frame. But a pretty sturdy bracket around here though. Alright, I don't know about that, it's going to be good. And again, we'll just plug that in. Like that. And again, with my remote handlebar. Lovely. I'll leave it open. I'll see if I can get a cloth down here. So there's some crud in here. It's more rust than anything, so I don't think it'll come off anyway. Definitely looking a bit better than it did. So we can get the pedals on and the chain. Like these in there. Plenty of grease on there again. Right, back onto the wheel now then. So I'm going to take this cassette off and give it a clean because it's absolutely disgusting. This will go in the ultrasonic, this will. Is it tight? If I can do it on here, then it's not tight. No, not particularly tight. Chain was just about in spec, so you should definitely get away with a new chain on this cassette. Like I say, the bike's less than a year old. Oh my god. I mean, I really hope that's grease and not corrosion. Yeah, it's grease, don't panic. I thought that was white corrosion. It's actually grease. Good. I'm going to take this rotor off as well, just so we can clean everywhere because of some this corrosion snow stuff on the spokes. Right. So they are on tubeless, and the customers never top them up. I'm not normally a fan of taking tubeless tyres off to top up, but I think on this one I'm going to make an exception just to see what we've got in there, because this, I don't like the look of this crusty stuff coming out of these spoke holes. I think this will just clean off, no problem. Yeah. Bearing wise, actually feel really good as well, so that's good. And the bit inside, I'm just going to get a brush in there and clean it off, no problem. So looking at these, again, this should just brush straight off. Yeah, it does. Alright, all cleaned up lovely, no issues there at all, no damage to the rim. Obviously inspect for cracks around these spoke holes, that's super critical to have a look at, but nothing there. Again, the hub's cleaned up, no problem. Sorry, the ultrasonic's on in the background if that's what you can hear, but I'm just going to take this tyre off and break one bead on this tyre and see what we've got inside. So I don't normally take these off, but because of the state of the rest of the bike, I'm going to have a look. Let's break this bead off. There's no sealant in there, but there's no lumps of crusty old sealant, so I'm just going to reseat that now and put some fresh sealant in there, bone dry. I was half expecting to see crusty gold balls of sealant in there, but there's nothing, so I'll just reseat this and top her up. Alright, let's get some sealant in this. I use Vittoria sealant for everything. Fantastic sealant, seals everything instantly. Really, really good stuff. Ammonia free as well, so it's good. Put about 80ml in these. Just shake first. I always inject it through a syringe, even though it's about empty, this bottle. I mean, you can put it in the tyre before you fully seat it, but there's a massive risk when you're trying to seat the tyre at the same time, you're going to blow sealant everywhere. So I think it would be insane, personally, not to just inject it like this. Like that. Inevitable mess. Almost inevitable, I guess. Some people will say not. Right, new valve core in there as well. I always change the core, so the cost of them absolutely pennies. Get a bag of 50 on AliExpress for not very much at all. And we'll just get some air in there. I'm going to get this cassette on, but I'll show you something while I'm doing this. There's a separate space around here that was already on there. So just find the widest slot there and find the corresponding one on here. Keep putting these on. What I'll show you with this is with these 12-speed Shimano cassettes, you can actually physically fit these sprockets on backwards. If you do that, your gears don't work. Always make sure you can see the shift ramps facing you. If you can't see the shift ramps, it's a plain sprocket, you've got it on backwards. Normal cassettes you can't, but on these Shimano 12 speeds, I've had a brand new bike in where 3 of these have been fitted the wrong way around. Top end works good, bottom end works good, but when you hit one of these where it's backwards, oh my god, you're there for hours scratching your head. It will actually go on backwards. Let me see if I can get it to go on. I think you have to try, but it does go. You'd think it'd be impossible, but on this one, it don't seem to want to play ball, but trust me, I've seen it twice. It caught me out the first time. I was there for hours trying to work out why these damn gears wouldn't work. And I noticed one of these profiles was pointing in a strange direction. And then the penny dropped. I won't do it anyway. Can't get it to go on there now, but trust me, it's possible if you try hard enough. And before you go for the full tighten, make sure you've got everything lined up properly. So put it in. If you look at it from the side, and you got it wrong, you'll see basically these going in and out at the wrong price, at the wrong profile. You'll see a gap down here. Make sure that gap is even. That's fine. These teeth that you see on the second one, the teeth that you see going in and out, they're supposed to do that. That's a shift profile. See that at the bottom. So I hope you shift. It's not bent or damaged, it's computer aided design. They've been at it for 30, 40 years and they get pretty clever with it now. That's on. That was a good guess, wasn't it? Exactly 40. I've just cleaned this rotor as well with some brake cleaner. Right, that's on as well. Right, the wheel's ready. Right, so I've just cleaned up the front wheel as well, put some new sealant in there, get that ready, and then we're just waiting for the headset bearing, then we can put these back on and continue. So just before continuing with Crusty, I just want to take a minute to thank this channel's sponsor, sportandleisure.com. Sport and Leisure are a UK-based cycling retailer with thousands of parts, tools, clothing, accessories, all ready to ship. Their listings are clear with great descriptions, really good pictures, so you know exactly what you're ordering, which I really appreciate, really do. So if things are listed as in stock, then it's actually in stock on the shelf, ready to ship. If you order before 3 PM, it will ship the same day. UK shipping is free, but if you need it faster than that, the next day delivery is only £2.50. Bargain. So whether you're after some new wheels, brakes, or even a group set, check them out. The prices really are pretty much unbeatable. So they've also given me a discount code for viewers. If you use the code BCR10 at checkout on your first order, you'll get an additional 10% off the already fantastic prices. Check the links in the description below. Thanks again to sportandleisure.com for continuing to support this channel. Now let's get back to Crusty. Okay, we have bearings. These are black oxide coated, so they are slightly more resistant to seizing into the frame, but I'm still going to grease them up, obviously. Let's get these in. Loads of grease. I know the bottom bearing was technically okay, but while you've got it apart, you're crazy not to for, what are these, £10 each? Let's get them in. Get a load of grease on there. Finally, done. Right, I'll get the fork in now. I put a little bit of grease on this lower race, but to be honest, I've never ever had one seize on here. It's always in the frame, but just a little drop on there. So you just got to thread this other brake hose up through the frame, or the head tube, through the bearing, and then we can get the fork in. And then I'll normally rest that fork on my stool, otherwise it just drops straight out. Again, pretty straightforward on this one. It just goes in there. There's 2 slots for your hoses. Very obvious where they go. If you've got gear cables, you need to refer to your manufacturer's website. They tell you exactly where cables go through these bits and pieces here. They're all different, so make sure you refer to that before you try and put it back together. Thread the hoses through this piece. This piece is on next. Again, make sure you just keep these hoses the right side of the slot. I think what we're going to have to do is probably going to have to mess around with spacers, because this was lifted sort of 5 millimeters. If that came from the factory like that, now it's in the right place, these spacers are probably going to be too many. So we'll have to drop this in and see how it looks. You can split them, or you can just bang them all on like this. I suspect this top one's going to have to come off though. And they just clip together. Easy. Let's get the stem and see how this is going to look. Alright, so I suspect this is not going to work. I don't know, it might be okay. Let's have a look. So it's sort of 3 to 5 mil below the top of the stem, but it depends what they call the top of the stem here, because there's a separate recess here. If we're using this second line down here, which I suspect is what they're talking about, because it's way above that bolt, then we are pretty much bang on 3 millimeters, so I'm okay with that. As long as you're above the centre of this second bolt, then generally speaking you're okay. If you're below or level with it, I'd put a bit more steerer through. Little tab on here locates in here. Tiny drop of grease on here, and just screw that in, right there. So I've just bought a 3D printer. I've no idea why. I actually paid for it, non-sponsored rubbish. It's I actually bought it. It's not here yet, but I've no idea what I'm going to use it for, so if people can give me ideas, then crack on. I'm not printing brake discs like Burn Peak, if that's what you're suggesting. So that's adjusted. Look how much pressure I'm putting on there. Just a little tweak on your finger. It says 5 Newton meters max. Please, please, please don't do that. That's probably half a Newton meter you're using. What you're doing is taking the slack out of this bearing here. Still needs more. Right, and that's gone there. There's no slack there. The bike's rocking in the stand, but there's no slack in the bearing. That feels beautiful. Right, and that's it. So now we tighten these up. I am going to replace these first because they're disgusting. Right, they should look a bit better. They're not crusty, they're just shiny. I'll torque this up to, what do they want? 5.2 Newton meters. I've not got the wheel in yet for alignment, but I can see that's pretty much right. If need be, I can adjust it later, so I'll torque these up now. 5.2 Newton meters. So these hoses now can go back to the lever, re-terminate them there, and put this cover on the bottom of the stem, and then we can wrap the bars. And yeah, we might be getting somewhere then. Drop that cover in. There's a little bit of grease on the bolt, obviously. For internally routed, this is certainly one of the easiest ones you could do. Practice on one of these, yeah. Right, quick wipe down, and that looks as good as new. Rescued. I'm going to change these crusty bolts on the front as well, don't worry. Get around to that in a minute. Literally looks as good as new. Right, brakes. So these are ZTTO barbs and olives, AliExpress, exactly the same as Shimano. Get them in. So your nut and your olive on, and then just fit the barb. Get it started if you can, like that. Then just wind it in, or push the barb into the hose. Just keep going until it's flush. Like that. Stop. So there's your barb, there's your olive, which is just sliding around. Bit of grease on there, and then get it in the lever, push it all the way home, which it is, and then get this nut started, which can be a bit fiddly. 6 to 7 Newton meters on these. You'll feel it anyway. That's fine. Right, so I'll just connect the other side. Alright, let's get these crusty bits out as well. Such rubbish quality bolts. This would be the ideal place for a titanium upgrade. No corrosion. If you get bolts for stem, make sure you get the ones with the washers on. They are designated for stems, really, so you can't really go wrong. Right, they're going to look a lot better. Jesus. Oh my God. Houston, we may have a problem. Bit of PB on this one, I think. Right, I'll let that soak for a minute. Well, I'll go and warm up because my hands are frozen. Right, that's been soaking at least half an hour now. Still tight though. Oh my God, it's literally bending my Allen key, and this is like a super high quality Allen key. So I'm going to go up to a socket. Now this is the torque wrench, however, I need the leverage. There you go. Got ya. Again, another one, imagine that in a year's time. Problem is the whole bike stinks of PB blaster now. Good stuff though. I give you that, it is good stuff. Right, I will talk all these in a minute. Good as new. Take this back on now. So this is the day after I released the video on the Dogma and SL8 comparison. Going very well at the moment. Again, this video will probably be a month away from there, so we'll see where it ends up, but it seemed to be quite a popular choice. You guys seem to like comparisons. Any comparison video I've done has always done pretty well, so I'll see what else I can come up with. Any suggestions? Again, I can't just go out and get any bike I want. It depends what's in the workshop at the time, so I was lucky with those two. But yeah, I'll see what I can do. Lever actually feels pretty good. It's still got a bleed block in there, obviously, but I'm just going to pump through a little bit of fluid just to make sure there's nothing in there. So this is a bleed port on these. It's really, I don't like these at all. Problem is when you put your bleed cup in there, the pressure of this hood is leaning on it, and with the potential of damaging this thread. Some of these you can repair. I've done a video on it. This one would be extremely challenging to do though, because you can't get access to the diaphragm on it. Just be careful, these do not need to be tight. Make sure your O-ring comes off it. We'll just put a bleed cup on there. Again, I keep telling you guys, just use a plastic bleed cup. This is a Shimano one. So the problem is, if you've got a brass one on there and you put a lot of pressure on there, you're going to potentially bend this cup and rip the threads out of the lever. So don't do that. Right, let's just leave that in there. Just going to connect a syringe to the caliper and just blast a bit of fluid up here. Won't take long. I'll just connect that through there, pump it up, a few bubbles out there, close her up. Let's do the front one first actually. A little bit in there, yep. Actually quite a bit. Okay, it's just a case of rotating the bike through different degrees while burping the lever. It feels rock solid now, but I can see one bubble there just coming out, there you go. That's it, no more. Double barreled. Right, this one's done. And that's, look at this, 2 fingers. That's tight enough. Okay, stop there. I'll just do the same on the back. 2 seconds. Right, with those done now, I can put the wheels back into the bike. Everything else is cleaned up. Put the pads in, put the wheels in, put the chain on, do the gears, do a firmware update, wrap the handlebars, I'm done. If you haven't got one of these Shimano bleed blocks, then get one because they're fantastic. They fit so well. You don't even need a pin, it just clips straight in there. It ain't going anywhere. Maybe I could 3D print some. First one. I've cleaned up that pin and added some anti-seize onto the thread. Super important on these Allen key ones, honestly, they're so rubbish. So there's already loads of grease on this through axle, so let's get this in. This tyre's been up for the best part of a week now with this sealant, and it's still rock solid, so that's good. Right, that's in. So I do need to realign this caliper, remember. The pads are all the way out at the moment, so it's pretty easy to see daylight in between here. And just set it in the middle. But it's incredibly difficult to do it with the camera in the way. I shouldn't be a million miles off. Right, let me just pump the brake because it's got to reset these pads against the disc. Still rubbing. Right, I'll have to do this with the camera out of the way. Sorry, I just can't get in there enough. There you go. So anti-seize, I use this one here. It's an aluminium based one, sorry. And you know the term "shit to a blanket." It was invented for this stuff, honestly. So it's just the tiniest drop. What you don't want is it dripping down onto your pads. Just the tiniest bit, just on the thread. The rest of it's totally irrelevant. This is the only bit that seizes. Beautiful. Alright, chain. Make sure you get this fitted because Shimano chains are directional. You'll see some writing on here. This should be facing this way. And again, there's an arrow on this quick link as well. Make sure you get that the right way. This is grease on this wheel, it's not corrosion. Need to wipe it down. And that's on. Just going to run through these gears. This is 105 Di2. And we'll do a firmware update as well. But let's just see how they're working as they are. Straight up at the front. Beautiful. Noisy in big, you shouldn't be in big, so we can set this up to full synchro and that'll prevent that happening. Nice. A little bit noisy in this gear here. Needs a little bit more on little low limit. There you go. Good. Right. Better. And the brakes are sweet. Right, I've not got much left to do now, thankfully. Just get some lube on this chain. A little bit of PT's all weather left, so I'll just put this on this one. Do one link at a time like this. It's quite a nice lubricant actually this is. I don't know why I didn't continue with it. It goes on very, very nicely. I might get it again. I've still got to retry that squirt one after everybody told me off for not degreasing the chain. I don't know. I tried to read the instructions. What you didn't see is I tried to read the instructions, but they're one of those where it's like peel the labour off, and it literally just ripped it in half, and I just got a bit annoyed. Got a bit beepy, so I edited it out. But I will revisit it. Because by all accounts, it is a good lubricant. Alright, I'll just pump that up and down the cassette once. Okay, good. Just going to check for firmware updates on the derailleurs and the shifters, etc. So this uses the laptop and a Shimano software. You can do it on your app, but it's a bit limited what you can do on there. It's always better if you can use this, but then you need a very expensive box to be able to talk to the system. Talk to the system, you need this little software box. You can do it on your phone, but you're a little bit limited. This gives you full access to everything, but it's about £200 or something ridiculous, so yeah. So on 12-speed wireless system, basically you need to intercept the signal between the battery and the derailleur. So we use your junction box here, and the cable from the battery will go in here. This end will go back into the derailleur, the other end goes back into the box, and then we can talk to the system. So I just need to unplug this again, take that out, and that goes into this junction box. Tram owners are going to be loving this, I know they are. You'd have to do what? And then this one goes back into the derailleur. This is the spare cable that I've used for intercepting. That plugs in there, that's talking. This end goes into here, this end goes into here, and this goes into your laptop obviously. So back to the laptop, it should be waking up now. Connect the bike and click next. We are now connected. Now it should identify the battery on two derailleurs. It won't identify the shifters because they're wireless. You need to connect into them separately. Okay, update available on the rear derailleur, update available on the battery, update available on the front derailleur. The shifters are showing, but it's not talking to them because you need to connect to them individually. Select all. So this will select these three units here. Make sure your battery's got good charge on your laptop, and then just update those. Doesn't take very long actually, a couple of minutes. Right, so hold on there. So just to show you some other bits and pieces, if we can find it again. So you customize this, so you can change to synchronized shift. So there's basically different modes here. Oh, I know I can't, shut up. So you can change the characteristics, basically how fast it will shift and stuff like that. Synchronized shift, you can set that to, I need to set it what gears it's in. It doesn't even know what gears it's in, so it's 50, 34. And rear cassette is 1134, I think. Let me just check. And an 1134, so we need to tell it. It's never even been told from the dealer what it's got on there. Right, so let's set that. Now it'll tell you synchronized shift, and you can do semi-synchronized, fully synchronized on the front and back. So basically what that does is stops you cross-chaining. So rather than going big, it'll automatically shift down the chainring size or up the chainring size, and then select a different sprocket on the back to give you the same ratio but without cross-chaining. So it's a pretty clever system. But I've not spoken to the customer to see if he wants me to switch it on. So people often say, oh, my gears are broken. It's not broken, it's just being very, very clever. So I need to speak to him, see if he wants me to enable that or not. But that's what you can do. You also need to update my E-tube, it's out of date. Disconnected. So it's just a case of unplugging this now from the derailleur, unplugging the original cable for the bike, that one, plug that back in, like that. Put the seal back on, and make sure this cable goes under its clip because it's fell out. So to talk to the shifters, you don't need the junction box, you just plug this cable directly into the back of the shifter, and it'll do the firmware update individually on those. Right, excuse the poor lighting, but on the 105 levers, you have one port, and it's basically hidden here behind this thing here, so that's basically a dummy plug. So you pull that out, and that comes out like that, and there's your port for your cable. Just plug the cable into that and connect it to the laptop. So this will probably come up with a Bluetooth warning. So basically what this is about is, I don't know if you remember, but last year there was some news where people were basically hacking into Di2 shifters with Bluetooth, and you could change gear on somebody else's bike, which sounds funny, but you know, if it's a professional race and you're sprinting for the finish and someone changes you into first gear, you've got massive issues, so don't do that. So this basically update stops you doing that. It's not come up, but last time I did it, it came up with a warning saying you must accept this Bluetooth license, etc, etc. That's basically just updating that in one go. Right, I'll disconnect that and just finish the other shifter, and we're done with that. And that's it. Right, one thing we do need to check, obviously, is for the seat post, make sure there's no corrosion there, so I'm just going to clamp it elsewhere for temporarily. Right, before you all panic, I'm not clamping this. It's literally just enough to stop it falling over, that's it. There's no force on there at all, okay? Right, so we need to get into here to make sure we get this seat post out and get some carbon paste on there as well. So this cover just pulls off. There's a 4mm bolt down here. So I'll just mark the height of this first. There is a line on the back, but right about there. Oh, he's really tightened this up. That is not 5.2 Newton meters. No, I'm coming out. Well, there wasn't much in there. You have got a minimum insertion mark, but he's only just above it. Okay. Finish line carbon paste on there, just gives it an extra grip. To be fair, most of it flipping wipes straight off when you put it back in. I've never really understood this stuff, but I'm guessing there's some down there still. Clean all that up. Tighten this back down to 5.2 Newton meters. This is one bolt on a carbon bike I would always recommend use a torque wrench for. Get this wrong, you got big issues. Oh, that's going tight, there you go. It felt tight, but that's gone. Take your tape off, clean your paste up, and this just clips in here. The little hook on the front goes back in there. That scratch wasn't me, by the way. There's big scratches all over it. I think I'll probably be able to polish it out with a bit of T-cut. So all we've got to do now is chuck some fresh bar tape on it. This customer's got the side bars set quite high. I think it's more of a comfort thing than performance, that's for sure. Yeah, but that's where he's had them, so that's where we're going to leave them. Right, get some bar tape on this and call this a day. Done. And put this OG kin on. Quite a big fan of this. It's from AliExpress, obviously. There's a lot of my bar tapes are, but it goes on really, really nicely and looks fantastic. A sort of a rubberized feel to it. Very nice, actually. Right, let's get this done then. Right, I'm not going to lie, it's that cold in my workshop, I can hardly feel my fingers. So let's get this done and I can go in and warm up and spend the next week editing this video. Good. Big fan of that tape, it goes on so nicely. And the tape that you got ready, just get that going. Nice and tight here. So yeah, it's a nice tape that is, really grippy, good thickness, easy to wrap, and bargain price as well. Honestly, it's so good. Got loads of this stuff. Alright, I'll do the other side and we are done. So crusty's done, not so crusty now, actually looking really, really good. So the customer has asked me for some pointers on how to sort of prevent this going forwards. So we'll discuss that when he collects it, really around cleaning and polishing and potentially 6 monthly maintenance with myself rather than 12 monthly at the moment. So, but it's recovered from what it was, and I think if we'd have left it much longer, it might have been a different story. Headset bearing especially, that was a close call, but that's all done now, beautifully smooth. So I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you learned something along the way. If you did enjoy the content, I'll please ask you just to take 1 second to hit that magic subscribe button. It makes a huge difference. I've got big targets to hit, so if you can do that for me, I'd really appreciate it. And stay tuned for plenty more content. I keep it varied on here, as you've probably seen, so you never know what you're getting next week. Stay tuned, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.